Hi everyone, it's Emma Watson and I'm back talking with Sue Hughes. Today we're talking about what we eat on an average day and how we incorporate tapping into our daily lives. So good morning, Sue, first of all.
Good morning, Emma.
Now, Sue, on this topic, would you like to go through first talking about your daily routine, or would you like me to start?
No, I'm happy to start. So what do I eat? Generally speaking, this protocol for eating has, do I call it a protocol? Yes, I do, because there are certain boundaries for my own health that I need to keep to. I discovered about 7 or 8 years ago that I was wheat intolerant, and it took me 5 years to get to that point. That's relevant because much of my addictive food has been tied up with bready substances. So now I don't eat bread at all, and I've got to a point where I don't miss it at all. And that, but it took me the best part of a decade to get to that point.
How did you have that realization, Sue? What was the tipping point there?
The tipping point for me with wheat was, it was trial and error. And as I said, it took me 5 years. And there was that sort of heavy feeling that, in fact, wheat, I've now worked out what the physical effects on me are. And I'm not celiac or anything like that, but I get joint pain. I get a stomach discomfort, or in fact, an abdominal discomfort. But my primary symptom, strangely enough, is depression. And who would have thought that wheat would trigger depression? But I've tried the experiment so many times that for me, and for everybody it's going to be different, but for me, wheat is that bad for me. And I know that to maintain a happy place in my mind and my heart, I do not need to be aggravating that with food that triggers that response, because I have got a propensity towards depression anyway. So why would I do that? However, with emotional eating, it's those very things that we really crave. So what do I eat? So I cut out wheat. When did I last have wheat? I can't remember. The other thing I cut out is sugar, which is, I'm not wanting to be too much of a drama queen about it, but it's like cocaine for me.
And there is research sort of showing that those reward centres in the brain light up, isn't there, Sue? I mean,
absolutely. So I won't go into all of that. Let's go to what I actually do have. So in the mornings for breakfast, I have porridge made with almond milk with some blueberries and banana. And that has been my staple breakfast for a long, long time. Many people think, oh, isn't it so boring, actually keeping to the same thing? For me, it's not. I love that regime. And one of the things I love about that breakfast is that it keeps me sustained for 4.5, 5 hours. Because one of the things for me is to keep a clear mind and a clear heart, not to speak of a clear stomach. I do best when I don't snack. I feel happier. I feel better in myself. One of the things I still fight and I still tap on are feelings of hunger. For me, feeling hungry raises a sort of danger signal. It's really, yeah, it's really uncomfortable. And for decades, I need to eat. I need to eat to get rid of that particular uncomfortable feeling. But I do better in every respect if I don't snack in between meals. So lunch I will have, if I am feeling genuinely very hungry, I'll have something carbohydratey, like a potato or a sweet potato. With that, I will have a bit of protein, which will be either some meat. I've gone off meat a bit, but I'm not a vegetarian. A bit of meat, so possibly a bit of chicken, 2 eggs, salad, various vegetables, and a portion of fat. That might be half an avocado, it might be a teaspoon of mayonnaise, something like that. Back in the day, I used to avoid fat like the plague, but now I don't. I don't. Hopefully, I don't OD on it, but it's yeah. So that's what I would have for lunch, alongside another piece of fruit. Whatever I fancy. Then afternoon, I have a dip in my energy levels around 4 o'clock. So if I really have one of those, although I say I don't snack, I would have something around 4 o'clock, maybe a small handful of nuts, or an apple, or a pear, something like that. And then I don't eat dinner too late. If I eat dinner too late, first of all, I feel uncomfortable going to bed. I don't eat too much at dinner. So I will have basically whatever's going. My husband and I share the cooking, and I'm not too prescriptive about it. We know that there won't be wheat and sugar. I cook with much less oil than he does. Do you know, that's life. It's so nice. I take the dog out for a walk, I come back and my dinner's prepared.
Yep.
Who's to argue?
Exactly.
So I will have a bowl full or a plate full, and he's a really good cook, and so there will be either there might be some rice with some curry, or a standard meal, and then nothing till I go to bed. That protocol works for me. It doesn't feel like dieting. It's foods that I enjoy. I don't always have a perfect day. Sometimes the portions are too much, or I'll be in the kitchen and I'll take a spoonful out of the pot and I think, why did I do that? Why? So it's a mixture. Where I go away from that protocol is where habits, because I'm a strong believer in the formation of habit, when the habits have not just been properly embedded. And sometimes I will have been upset by something, and if I'm upset by something, it isn't so much that I'm not coping with it, but I go back into the habit. So I kid you not, for me, this is a long road. It's a long road, and maybe I'll be fixed. I don't know, probably till the day I die, and then I'll be terminally not fixed.
Long-term project, hey?
It is a long-term project for me. Yeah. I won't talk about tapping now. I mean, there are things. I do tap, but I'd like to hear about what you do. I've always been curious about what you eat, Emma.
Sure. Yeah. Well, there's been a bit of an evolution actually, because when I sort of did this intensive tapping on my out of control food issues back in the mid 2000s, I lost weight over 18 months, and purely by either not having the binges I was having at all, or having them in, they were very small and very infrequent. So I ate a very standard Australian diet at that point. And because I wasn't doing and I was well educated about food, the meals I was eating weren't a problem. It was the binges I was having after work, or late at night, or whenever I was triggered. So I lost that weight eating a very standard Australian diet. Then around 30, I started to get some symptoms that were associated with wheat intake, and it took me a long time to figure that out. And I think it was a naturopath who proposed to me the idea of cutting out wheat for a while and seeing if that helped.
Yeah.
Boy, did it help.
Yeah.
At that time, there wasn't much online to do with wheat-free eating, and I wanted to join the Celiac Society of Australia. But to do that, you had to have a medical diagnosis. To get the medical diagnosis, you had to eat wheat for 2 weeks and then go and have a biopsy or something. And I thought, right, that's it, I'm doing it. So I lasted 3 days and I couldn't continue. I felt so unwell.
Yeah.
I did convince the GP to diagnose me on that basis. So it's interesting because I avoid wheat too, just like you,
Mm.
and similar sorts of symptoms as the ones you mentioned.
Yeah.
I also would get a skin rash as well. I'd see it in my skin.
Yeah.
Yep. Evolving from there, in about 2013, we go to Europe every sort of 3 years, and I always get jet lag coming back to Australia, not so much going to the UK.
Yeah.
But one night I couldn't sleep, and I watched one of those documentaries that you can't unsee about, factory farming and all that sorts of things. And
Oh,
overnight,
don't.
went plant-based. I just sort of couldn't unsee that. So I have stuck to that. And since then, I had some arthritic symptoms come up about 12 months ago, and I found a protocol that works for reducing the pain with that, and it's diet and exercise
Yeah.
modifications. So I just wanted to give a bit of a history to how my eating has evolved, and to remind people that I followed a very standard Australian diet once upon a time, and still lost the weight. It isn't necessarily what I'm doing now.
Mm.
So having said all of that, my breakfast is very similar to yours. I have settled on a porridge with berries, and that is my breakfast almost every day. It would be rare to deviate from that.
Yeah.
And I am fine with it. I don't find it boring like you, but I'm fine eating the same thing. I follow a lot of the plant-based doctors, and a lot of them talk about the importance of green leafy vegetables and having a salad either as a meal or part of a meal every day.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a salad for lunch with something else every single day. So for example, today I had it with soup. Some days it's with a baked potato, some days it's with leftover dal, some days it's with, a stir fry. Whatever I've got going,
Yeah.
I will have a salad with that just to get those vegetables in.
Yeah.
And then dinner is sort of what I've always eaten with modification. My husband and I love Indian food, so we eat a lot of dals, a lot of curries, a lot of rice-based dishes, lots of stir fries, lots of Thai-inspired dishes, and your standard pastas, soups, the things that every sort of family has as their staples. Back
That's
in the day, it used to be 50-50, my husband and I sharing the cooking. I tend to cook we tend to cook for ourselves to an extent and then share some dishes just because of the modifications I'm on at the moment.
yeah.
But we certainly did early on, just used to cook 50-50 and then just sort of share what was there.
Yeah. What I
Yeah.
find really, really interesting is that we both come from a diet binge background. We both have this wheat intolerance, and we have both arrived at a very similar protocol for our food
Yes.
because, well, not because anything. I think that's really, really interesting that should be satisfying the way that it is satisfying. So, do you snack at all, Emma?
I do. I do. I forgot to mention that. I do. If I'm hungry, I eat. And what I notice is